I never thought life could get that dark. You know those nights where you're lying on the floor, staring at the ceiling, and you can't even feel your own heartbeat because everything inside you feels empty? That was me. I wasn't just at rock bottom. I felt like I was 6 feet under it. And the worst part? The one person I thought would stay, the one person I believed would fight for me, she walked away. Just like that. I wasn't prepared for it. We'd been through storms together before, and I thought this would be just another rough patch. But when you're at your lowest, you start to see who really cares, and who is only there for the good times. I remember the look on her face the night she left. It wasn't anger. It wasn't even sadness. It was this cold, distant kind of expression, like she'd already decided I wasn't worth the weight of sticking around anymore. And in that moment, it didn't feel like I lost just a girlfriend. It felt like I lost the only anchor I had left in a life that was already falling apart. You ever had that? Where everything crumbles at once. Your job doesn't work out, your friends slowly stop checking in, your family just doesn't get it, and then the person you love, the person you trusted with your heart, decides they can't do it anymore either. It's like being abandoned in the middle of the ocean, no land in sight. I remember sitting on the edge of my bed, my hands shaking, my chest tight. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. I wanted to cry, but the tears wouldn't fall. I was just numb. And the silence after she slammed that door shut, that silence felt louder than anything I've ever heard. And yet, even in that silence, even in that emptiness, life has a way of surprising you. Sometimes the people you least expect step in when everyone else steps out. Because while she was walking out of my life, someone else was quietly stepping into it. And no, it wasn't a stranger. It wasn't some random savior out of nowhere. It was someone I had seen countless times, someone who had always been in the background, never asking for attention, never demanding anything from me. It was her sister. And the way it happened, the timing, the way she reached out her hand when I was too broken to even lift mine, it changed everything. But before I tell you what she did, and how that single moment ended up shifting the entire course of my life, you need to understand just how far down I had fallen. Because only then will you see why her presence, her kindness, and her hand meant more to me than anything in the world. And trust me, the story only gets more complicated from here. Before everything came crashing down, my life looked almost normal, at least from the outside. I had a steady job, a girlfriend I thought I'd marry one day, and this image of a future that seemed simple, predictable, safe. But underneath, cracks were already forming, cracks I didn't want to see. Her name was Emily. She was my everything. We'd been together for almost 3 years, and in those years, I convinced myself she was the one person who truly understood me. We had our fights, sure. What couple doesn't? But I always believed love would be enough to hold us together. She laughed at my stupid jokes. She pushed me to do better, and when she smiled, the whole room felt lighter. At least, that's how it felt back then. But here's the thing about relationships. Sometimes you don't notice the slow drift until it's too late. I was drowning in stress from work, trying to make ends meet, trying to keep up with bills that never stopped piling up. I pulled away without meaning to. Instead of opening up, I shut down. And Emily, she hated that. She wanted the version of me who was fun, carefree, always cracking jokes, not the guy who came home too tired to talk. And then there was her sister, Sarah. If Emily was fire, Sarah was calm water. She was quieter, softer, the kind of person who never tried to steal the spotlight, but always noticed the little things. She'd tag along sometimes when Emily and I went out, and I always thought of her as just Emily's sister. Nothing more. She had this way of listening without judgment, though. Like even in silence, she was paying attention. Looking back, I realized she probably saw more than I wanted her to. The arguments, the silence, the way Emily's patience with me was wearing thin. But she never said anything, never interfered. Until the night, everything snapped. Emily and I had been spiraling for weeks. Every conversation turned into an argument, and every argument ended with her saying she didn't even recognize me anymore. I wanted to tell her I was scared, that I felt like I was failing in every part of my life, but the words just wouldn't come out. Instead, I'd just sit there, staring at the floor, and she'd take my silence as indifference. And then came that night. The night she finally had enough. The night she told me she couldn't do this anymore. I remember her hands trembling as she packed her bag, her voice breaking even though her decision was clear. I didn't beg. I didn't fight. I just watched her leave. Because when you're that broken, you don't even believe you deserve to be fought for. But what I didn't know, what I couldn't see in that moment, was that someone else had been quietly watching the whole time. Someone who wasn't going to just walk away. And the way she stepped forward that night, it would change everything. The night Emily left, the apartment felt like a graveyard. Her perfume still lingered in the air, her half-empty mug sat on the counter, but the space felt colder than it ever had before. I sat there, staring at the door she had just closed, wondering how something that felt so permanent could disappear in seconds. That's when Sarah showed up. I hadn't even realized she was outside. Maybe Emily had called her. Maybe she just knew. I still don't know. But the knock on the door was soft, hesitant, like she wasn't sure if I'd even open it. When I finally did, she looked at me with these eyes that weren't full of pity, but something heavier, something I couldn't name. "Are you okay?" she asked. Simple question. But I broke. The words caught in my throat, my chest tightened, and I couldn't hold back anymore. For the first time that night, I let out a sound, a shaky breath that turned into something close to a sob. Sarah didn't push, didn't try to force me to talk. She just stepped inside and sat next to me. Quiet, steady, present. And that's where the conflict started to grow, not just between me and Emily, but inside me. Because as days turned into weeks, Sarah kept showing up. Not in a dramatic, sweeping kind of way, but in small, consistent moments. Dropping off food when she knew I hadn't eaten. Checking in with a text when she guessed I couldn't sleep. Sitting in silence when words felt too heavy. But every gesture, every bit of kindness, made the weight in my chest heavier. This was Emily's sister. Emily. The woman who had loved me once. The woman who had walked away because I couldn't give her what she needed. And now her sister was here, giving me exactly what I didn't know I needed. The guilt tore at me. I felt like I was betraying Emily just by letting Sarah's presence comfort me. But at the same time, I couldn't deny the pull. The way her voice calmed the chaos in my head. The way her hand on my shoulder made me feel like I wasn't completely alone. And then, one night, when the air between us felt too heavy, when silence wasn't enough anymore, something happened that I never saw coming. Something that would cross a line I didn't even know was there. The night it happened, the air felt heavier than usual. Maybe it was the silence. Maybe it was the way Sarah lingered a little longer on the couch, like she wasn't ready to leave yet. I remember the glow of the lamp casting a soft light on her face, making the room feel warmer than I thought it ever could again. We'd been talking about nothing, movies, random memories, little things to fill the silence. But beneath every word, there was this current, this pull neither of us wanted to acknowledge. My heart was pounding, not from excitement, but from the weight of what I felt building. At one point, I caught myself staring at her, not because she was Emily's sister, but because she was Sarah, someone who had been quietly holding me together when I couldn't do it myself. And that realization scared me. My stomach twisted with guilt. This wasn't supposed to happen. She wasn't supposed to be here. She must have felt it too. Because when our eyes met, she didn't look away. She didn't laugh it off or change the subject. She just held my gaze, and in that moment, it was like the air got thinner, like the walls of the room were closing in. "I don't want you to be alone in this," she whispered. Simple words, but they hit me harder than anything Emily ever said. I wanted to thank her, to tell her how much that meant, but my throat was dry. Instead, I nodded, hoping she understood the storm inside me. Her hand brushed mine, just barely, maybe even by accident. But the spark that shot through me was undeniable. My chest tightened. My mind screamed at me to pull away, to set boundaries, to remember who she was. But my heart stayed still. And that's when the questions started to tear me apart. Was this comfort? Was this survival? Or was something deeper beginning to form in the ruins Emily left behind? Days blurred together after that night. Every time Sarah came by, the pull between us grew stronger. We never crossed the line, but the line itself started to fade. The guilt grew heavier, but so did the closeness. And then came the night I'll never forget. We were sitting in the kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound between us. She looked at me, her eyes glistening, as if she was holding back words she was afraid to speak. My heart thudded in my chest. I knew, whatever she was about to say would change everything. Her lips parted, her voice trembling as she whispered, "There's something I need to tell you." And before I could even breathe, before I could prepare myself for what was about to come, she said it, but not loud enough for me to fully hear. I leaned in, desperate to catch her words. But before she could repeat herself, her phone buzzed on the counter. She froze, her eyes widening at the name flashing across the screen. It was Emily. My chest tightened. After weeks of silence, after leaving me in pieces, she was calling. Right in the moment Sarah was about to confess something that already felt dangerous. Sarah's hand trembled as she picked up the phone, her voice low and shaky. "Hello." I couldn't hear the other side, but I watched the color drain from Sarah's face. Her lips parted, her eyes darted toward me, then away, like she'd just heard something she wished she hadn't. When she hung up, she didn't look at me right away. Instead, she clutched the phone against her chest like it was burning her. Finally, she whispered, "She's coming back. Tonight." My heart stopped. Emily, the woman who had walked out without a backward glance, was on her way back into my life. And here I was, standing inches away from her sister, carrying a secret I hadn't even heard yet. Whatever Sarah had been about to say, I knew it would change everything, especially now. The sound of Emily's car pulling into the driveway hit me like a thunderclap. My pulse raced, my palms were damp, and Sarah stood frozen beside me, her breathing shallow. "Tell me what you were going to say," I whispered, almost begging. She shook her head, her eyes brimming. "Not now, not with her here." But it was too late. The front door creaked open, and there she was, Emily. Same perfume, same fire in her eyes, but something about her looked different, almost desperate. Her gaze flicked between me and her sister, lingering on the closeness of our bodies, the tension that filled the room. "What's going on here?" she demanded, her voice cracking. I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. That's when Sarah stepped forward. "Emily," she said softly, "you need to know something." I braced myself. This was it. The secret. The words she had been holding back for weeks. But what came out wasn't what I expected. Not even close. "I was here for him, because you asked me to." My head snapped toward her. "What?" Emily's face softened with guilt. She looked down, her voice breaking. "I told her to look after you. I couldn't handle it anymore, but I didn't want you alone. She promised me she'd be there for you when I couldn't." The room spun. All this time, every late-night text, every meal she dropped off, every quiet moment beside me. It hadn't started because she wanted to. It started because Emily begged her to. And yet, the way Sarah looked at me in that moment, the way her hand reached out despite the weight of her confession, told me something had shifted. Somewhere along the way, her promise had turned into something real. Emily's voice broke through the tension. "But I didn't expect," she swallowed hard, tears filling her eyes. "I didn't expect her to fall for you too." The words hit like lightning. My heart hammered in my chest, torn between the woman who left me and the woman who had held me together, who now stood shaking, exposed, her feelings laid bare in front of us all. And in that moment, I realized whatever choice I made next would shatter someone's heart forever. The silence after Emily's words was deafening. 3 hearts, tangled in a mess none of us had planned, beating in the same room. I could see the pain in her eyes, the fear in Sarah's, and I knew, no matter what I said, nothing would erase what we'd all been through. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my voice. "I never wanted this, not like this. I didn't ask for either of you to carry me when I couldn't carry myself. But you did, and I can't ignore that." Emily's eyes welled up, and for the first time since she left, she didn't look angry. She looked tired. "I walked away because I couldn't handle your darkness," she admitted quietly. "But it killed me to leave you alone. That's why I asked Sarah. I thought she'd keep you safe until you got back on your feet." Sarah's hand trembled in mine. She didn't deny it. She just whispered, "I never expected to feel what I feel now." And that was the truth none of us could escape. What started as a promise had grown into something real, something fragile but undeniable. I looked at Emily. "You came back tonight, why?" Her shoulders slumped. "Because I realized I might have made the biggest mistake of my life. I thought leaving would make things easier, but all it did was make me realize how much I still love you." My chest tightened. 2 women, one who left me when I was broken, one who stayed and held me together, and both of them standing there, waiting for my answer. The thing is, sometimes life doesn't hand you clean choices. Sometimes the right thing isn't about who you pick. It's about who you become after the storm. So I let go of Sarah's hand, not because I didn't feel something, but because I did. And I looked at Emily, not with anger, but with honesty. "I can't go back. Not right now. Too much has happened. I need to stand on my own before I can give my heart to anyone again. Emily's face fell, but she nodded. Sarah's eyes filled with tears, but there was relief there too, like she understood. That night, Emily left again, quietly this time, no slammed doors. Sarah stayed a few minutes longer, then hugged me tight before walking out as well. No promises, no confessions, just space. And for the first time in months, I sat in the silence and didn't feel crushed by it. I realized love isn't always about who holds your hand. It's about finding the strength to hold your own. Weeks later, I'm still figuring it out. Emily and I talk sometimes, Sarah too, but nothing's rushed, nothing's forced. And maybe that's the point. Because when you hit your lowest point, and the people around you break and bend in unexpected ways, the real story isn't about who stays or who leaves. It's about how you rise.